It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Welcome to the Hockey Writers Grindline. I am Patrick Brown, your host and big boy enthusiast. Shout out to my peeps in Battle Creek off Helmer Road. And we are thrilled to have you watching our humble show. For the last 5 years, you've caught our column with the Hockey Writers, and now we're here with you to discuss the latest Red Wings news, rumors, and strategies. Unfortunately, we are back to the penalty kill this week, but we are happy to announce that we've got a very special guest returning. Joining us for the second time, editor with our friends over at Octopus Thrower, Nate Brown. Nate, how you doing?
Oh, good to be here, little brother. Thanks for bringing me back. Shout out to Helmer Road, exit 95 as well, and to some folks in Portage that might be watching. And also, I'm thinking that I could become the John Goodman and or the Tom Hanks of this show, as now I am a repeat guest, which is fantastic because, of course, John Goodman was on SNL like, 20 times? Yeah. So I can try that.
Steve Martin. He's a good one. He's a good one to target for sure. We'll do what we can. I do have to say, though, calling me little brother, last time I checked, I don't have a Blackhawks logo on my shirt.
No. And we're off. We are off. That wasn't intentional. That's the worst part. It's like ingrained in the DNA. How can we slight them? How can we get them? There we go.
Haven't even had a chance to introduce my partner in crime yet, Devin. Devin, always a pleasure. How you doing, man?
Always a pleasure. I'm doing good. Happy to have you with us, Nate. I'm excited to talk some draft today. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in indeed. We have a lot of ground to cover. Devin, you hit the nail on the head right out of the gate. Big news. Tell me if you've heard this before. The Detroit Red Wings are picking 6th overall in the NHL entry draft. Let's talk about that. It's a good place to start. Obviously, the entry lottery happened this past week, and the Red Wings pulled 6th, right exactly where they should have pulled. Few different rules this time around. You know, we had an interesting story about how even though the Red Wings finished 5th from last, they couldn't, unless they got 1st or 2nd, they couldn't have anything really above 5th or 6th at that point. So Interesting changes to the rules in order to apparently make things a little bit more fair. How did that work out? We're going to start with our guests. So Nate, how do you think the rules of the draft worked out this year compared to years past?
I think first of all, I think the funny part of it all was the kids in my house, and there's 4 of them, were warned to not go downstairs until daddy comes upstairs because, well, nobody really knew what was going to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. I was ready for them to slide again to number 8. So at this point, I'm like, okay, if they hold steady, fine. Bill Daly flipped the card over, and I just laughed. But mathematically, you took one draw out, and you knew at that point there's less of a chance of that shifting that had happened in the years past. Honestly, I still think the system's flawed. I don't have my tinfoil cap on right now, but if a Chicago, a New York, and LA had one of the big market teams risen again, well, then you're kind of feeding that fire. I think they know that. I think they're trying to do what they can. I think the last step is to show them actually conduct it, but it doesn't matter. Let's face it. No matter what happens, there's always going to be that conspiracy. Regardless, it's like Yzerman said, wherever we're going to pick, we're going to take the best player available, and that's what matters most. Do they need that top 1 or 2? Yeah, you want that game changer. However, at this point, just take that best guy. And of all the drafts that we've had in the last 5 years, this is the one where, you don't get that first or that second. It's wide open, as poor Antar Khan found out.
It's early. It's early for that. But we will get to that. We will put everybody on the spot to see that. But before we do that, Devin, I want to swing it over to you. Your thoughts, were the changes effective, or is it still are there still changes left to be desired in the draft?
There's certainly changes left to be made. I think that the fact that the worst team got the top pick kind of eases the blow a little bit. I know a lot of people are a little salty that Seattle is picking second in their first. Yep, there you go. I found one. But
one out of three.
But you know what? As somebody who's ready to jump aboard that bandwagon, I'm excited for them. That's a good way to start some excitement in Seattle, and they're going to draft a good kid. So good for them. I would say that's kind of the one blemish out of this is that the expansion team got the second pick.
Yeah.
But hey, expansion teams aren't supposed to be good right away. Vegas, not included there. So
it's true.
All in all, I'm not too upset. I'm happy that Detroit stood where they were at.
Absolutely. You know, we did a column before the season started, I think, indicating our season predictions and where we thought they'd end up in the draft. And I think I picked 9th. So I was pleasantly surprised. And also, just for anybody watching who may not know, obviously remember the Wings also have Washington's first round pick. And thanks to the Boston Bruins, that pick is much higher than what anybody thought it would be when that trade went down. So certainly things to keep an eye on. We're going to talk a little bit more about prospects and what to look out for later in the show. But for now, let's talk about the Red Wings and maybe who they're looking to potentially draft. So Yzerman actually kind of hinted during that presser that maybe a goalie isn't even in the top 10. I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but it was kind of an interesting passive aggressive type comment to indicate I don't think they're looking at goalie. But who would they be looking for 6th overall? Nate, we're going to go back to you first. What do we expect to see out of the Red Wings 6th? And do you go for a home run or do you take the safe pick?
I think first, anything with Yzerman you take with a grain of salt. I mean, nobody knows what he's doing. You basically see him with it's smoke and mirrors, and I don't want to say it's the 4D. They're playing chess constantly. They're moving around, but I mean, everybody just hyper focuses on what he says, me included. I mean, there we go. So I think it's more of who fits the Yzer plan, who fits the organizational scheme. I don't know. I can see them going goalie there. He's done it before. I mean, albeit lower, but Yzerman. Oh, no. Wallstedt.
Okay. Just wanted to get that. Just wanted to get that on the record.
I'm killing. Oh, I'm getting conned right now. Please stop. Please.
Who do you think? No, I'm asking you.
You need the glasses and to lean in with that smile, and then it's all over. I think Eklund, though, if you're talking about a guy that's ready to step up, everything I've been reading from all the trusted analysts is saying, look, he's NHL ready. Like, and if he's not, it's less than a year. Well, that fits in the timeline, especially if you go back to what he said following the Mantha press conference.
Sure.
He got the best of Washington on that trade, but he stunned everybody. Not that he made a trade, but that clearly there was a lot of work going behind that and right up to the buzzer. Eklund, to me, like, you solidify, he can play wing and he can play center, which is another thing that Yzerman does. He wants those versatile guys, but he's played in a professional league. We're not talking juniors. We're not talking, USHL. We're talking, this kid's ready. Maybe not right this second, maybe not in a year. He'll take his time, but that's a guy where, all right, now you give Larkin some help down the middle.
Sure.
I mean, I would say well, this will be later. I don't see Eklund making it to them. That's the other thing too. I think he might go a little bit higher than people expect, but I've hogged my time. I'm getting the red light that says you're out of time. Yeah, exactly.
On that note, Devin, let's kick it over to you. Who do you see the Red Wings take? Does Yzerman go for the home run ball or does he play it safe?
Two things here. One, one of the biggest reasons why I was really crossing my fingers and hoping that they would get a second first round pick is that kind of gives you the freedom to take a home run swing, whether it's with the first pick or the second pick in the first round. Obviously, then you got to just hit for contact with the other pick. But in a draft like this, where there's just so many question marks across the board, why not take a big swing and really try to get a gem. A lot of people are seeming to connect the dots between Detroit and Wallstedt, and I'm not sure that I mean, just judging on Yzerman's maybe comment or not lack of comment on goaltenders, I don't know that that's in the cards. But also, like you said, we don't know what Yzerman's thinking. He very well could have just been throwing a curveball out there.
Sure.
I think this draft more so. I think Nate alluded to it. This draft more so than any in most recent memory is wide open. I'm not even sure who's going to go first. I have a good idea, but beyond that, like. I couldn't nail down who the Wings are going to pick at 6 because I genuinely don't know who's going to be there when they're picking. I have my ideas of who I'd like to see, but it's just so wide open this year that it could be this guy, it could be that guy,
sure.
It could be Wallstead, it could be Edvinsson, etc. Who do I want? I'm still nailing that down. I named 2 of them. I'll also throw out Matty Beniers if he's available, but I'm not sure he will be either.
Sure. Yeah. Beniers is picked on as a lot of boards, top 2 that I've seen. So
yep.
If he slid down to 6th, I think you jump on him. And Devin, don't sell yourself short. I think you have the power to understand who the first overall pick is going to be. So thank you. I'm here all week.
That was pretty bad. That was pretty bad.
Well, on that note, because we know everybody wants to keep watching, let's take a quick time out. Thank you for watching our show. Make sure to give us a like, subscribe to the Hockey Writers channel. There's so much good stuff on here. We've got Blackhawks banter, we've got Sabres scoop, we've got Chicks and Sticks, and always the OG Hockey Writers Live with Mark Shig. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our morning newsletter. If there's any way we can get you hockey, we're going to get you hockey. So make sure that you subscribe. We love bringing it to you, and we're really appreciative that you guys check out our show. So let's get back to it here. Twitter. We have a question from Twitter this week. So let's talk about at Alex Pickfaber asks, who's the most underrated prospect in the Red Wings pipeline right now? So Nate, we're going to start with you. Keeping your eye out on the farm, down on the farm. Who's the most underrated prospect in the Red Wings system?
Oh, I wrote down. So my 2 that I wrote down. Well, I mean, come on. Again, we don't want to get conned on this one. Niederbach, Tedor Niederbach is the first one. I think you knew he had a high ceiling, and then you watched him play this last year. And I actually was watching film of him trying. I want to make the comparison that he's reminds me a lot of Point. And I mean, Point was taken, later by Yzerman, and look what he's done with Tampa. He just doesn't have that same speed. But the comparisons I've seen is he's like Zetterberg. I've seen, and it reminds of what Jim Nill said. Jim Nill, the reason they drafted Zetterberg is they kept watching. They went to go scout other guys, and this kid named Zetterberg kept having the puck on his stick. And Niederbach's the same way. And he plays, I mean, he's disruptive in his own zone too. And that fits an Yzerman profile. Mastro Simone too. Robert Mastro Mazzoni. I think I know I just butchered that name terribly. So I apologize.
You gave it the old college try.
It was bad. The first was bad. The second one was awful. So I'll be off the penalty kill soon. The buyout will eventually happen. He's quietly doing his job. I don't know projections wise where you see him, but he could be a real solid top 6, top 9 guy. I mean, he's going to be there to score goals, and that's what this team desperately needs. Those are my 2. Thank you, Alex, for the question. But for those 2 really are the ones I've kind of put a bullseye on.
Yeah. Our old friend who was on a few episodes of this show, our old friend Peter, kind of brought my attention to Niederbach, and I've had a good time following him this season. Totally agree. That would actually probably be my pick for anybody who's out there keeping score. Keep your eyes peeled, because I think, like you said, the ceiling is high, and he's certainly living up to expectations right now. Devin, over to you. Which prospect in the Red Wings system is the most underrated right now?
I'm going to give 2 just like Nate. First one is going to be Elmer Soderblom. And I think that he's kind of underrated. I think league wide, I think Red Wings fans are really starting to know his name just based on stuff he's done in international play. He's just a big dude. I think he's 6'6" or something like that. He pretty much does the things that we're hoping to see Michael Rasmussen do in terms of getting in front of the goal and making those Holmstrom in tight type of plays. Helps that he's Swedish too, right? I think he was a 6th round pick. So I know Red Wings fans really get behind their late round picks that turn into something, especially when they're Swedish again. So Soderblom just gives you a lot to be excited about. If he can really turn into something and materialize the potential that he shows, he could be a very fun bottom 6 player for the Red Wings in the future. And then the other guy I'm going to throw out there, is Alex Cotton, a defenseman. This year in the WHL, in 24 games, he had 26 points, which is not anything to scoff at. I forget what round he was taken in. I know he's kind of an older prospect. It's not like he was drafted last year, but he's really starting to, find his way as a prospect. I'm pretty sure the Wings signed him to a ELC in the last couple of months, so we should expect to see him play with Grand Rapids next season. So I'll be really excited to see if he can transfer the success he had in the WHL this year.
Certainly not an underrated prospect, but I've made no secret I've been following Jonathan Berggren and was happy to see his ELC get tendered and hoping to see him in the relatively near future as well. So thank you guys for the comments. Good. Thank you, Alex, for the question. Really appreciate it. Anybody watching, you can always reach out to us on Twitter or comment on the channel. We'll make sure to chat about it every week. So speaking of which, let's talk about some YouTube comments that we got. As always, has been a recent trend, and we're super grateful. Great conversation taking place like right down here. For real. Right there. And we appreciate it. We love engaging with the dialogue, whether we agree, whether we don't. Certainly appreciate the opinions. So let's talk about some of those comments that came in from our last show. We're going to start with a regular and fan favorite, Paradox Destroyer, talking about last week. We talked about Dan Bylsma. We talked about how successful he was before being in Detroit. So the question or the thought is, why was Bylsma fairly successful in Pittsburgh at Buffalo, but not Detroit? Was Blashill the reason for that? Nate, we start with you.
Oh, there's a lot of Red Wing fans that if they could blame inflation on Jeff Blashill, they will. I mean, here's the deal. Yes, Blash's lineup choices are at times mind-numbing. There's times where you just want to see some semblance of offense. I can't remember which game it was, but when it was going back and forth, I was like, oh my God, the Red Wings can't play hockey like this. But he was trying to shield them. And Yzerman again alluded to that at the end. Look, we're in constant communication. So it's coming from the top two. They're trying to figure things out. In terms of Bylsma, it's simple. He didn't have the talent. He could have, if you go back and you look, so I wrote this down actually. 2011, 2012 was the year that they just destroyed everyone with the Penguins. I mean, they had James Neal going crazy there. You had Malkin, you had Crosby, you had I'm escaping them because 2009 is still like a vortex in my brain that I just couldn't watch him for many years after. He had the talent. I think they were first in scoring that year. And then he goes to Buffalo and you got Eichel and you got O'Reilly and you got other names escaping me, but he had talent. Who does he have to trot out on the power play? I mean, we saw Darren Helm out there, no disrespect, because we all have fine memories of Darren Helm in his
Speaking
prime.
of 2009.
Yeah. Exactly. And you have Nielsen was getting time. I mean, they were a mash unit for most of the year. And then by the end, so again, I don't really think it's a coaching thing. I think it's a personnel thing. And I also think that now they're going to say, all right, well, we need to get to that next level because the Niederbachs and the Raymonds and those guys are coming up. You want someone who's going to succeed with those guys, but be able to develop them into that facet too. So I think,
sure.
I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think it was a personnel issue. I don't blame Bylsma as much, but it was pretty bad going over 40. I mean, that was
yeah. Oh, of course.
That tried the patience of every Red Wing fan. So
absolutely,
but, somebody had to go.
Well, no, for sure. And for what it's worth, I don't think it's fair to compare those Pittsburgh teams to this Red
absolutely.
Wings team.
Absolutely
I think you got
not.
an argument in Buffalo. I don't think it's fair necessarily to compare Pittsburgh. I don't claim to be a coach. Nate, I know you've got the coaching mind. I do not. I've got more of a player just type mind, but I probably could have coached that Pittsburgh team to a number of power play goals that year. So probably wouldn't have been too bad. Devin, your thoughts. Bylsma, his success before Detroit, is Blashill the reason why he had trouble?
I think Nate made a lot of very good points. To kind of piggyback off of it, even in 2009, I don't think Dan Bylsma is the reason why the Penguins eventually won the cup. Like, I don't look back in that series and go, man, Bylsma really outcoached Mike Babcock, and that's what really paved the way for that cup victory. No, he had Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang and Jordan Stahl and Marc-Andre Fleury all in their primes.
Yeah.
What do the Wings have that's anything close to that?
Sure.
Like, come on. Next, in terms of Buffalo, I'm going to actually say that Bylsma wasn't successful in Buffalo, so I don't even consider that a viable thing to argue. There was that story out there that Jack Eichel pretty much gave ownership an ultimatum where it was like, either I'm staying or Bylsma's staying, so take your pick. So if you've got a situation where apparently your star player was like, this guy needs to go, I don't think that's successful whatsoever. So all in all, I've said this on a previous show of ours. I was not a fan of Dan Bylsma.
Yep.
I liked him when he came on. I liked the opportunity that was there. I thought he definitely was kind of the heir apparent to Jeff Blashill. But like Nate said, everyone seems to want to pile on Blashill, but it's not all him who's making mistakes here. Bylsma definitely has some blame to carry here. I don't think that Jeff Blashill was holding Dan Bylsma back. I genuinely don't.
Well, I think there's something to be said for one of the biggest arguments I heard last year about not firing Blashill is because nobody wanted Bylsma as coach.
Literally, like.
So I think that speaks volumes, to be perfectly honest, and again, I think at the same time, any Red Wings fan that remembers 2009, so pretty much every Red Wings fan that's like 15 years older probably at this point, just doesn't want much to do with that anyway. So we'll leave that out there. But Paradox Destroyer, we love you. Thank you. Keep commenting. We'll keep saying, hey, appreciate the question. One other comment from the show this past week, Mark Way says, would love to see Igor Larionov as an NHL coach. I think we can all agree. We kind of talked with Igor Larionov the second last week about that and about his potential progression. I'll start on this one because Mark Way, I couldn't agree more. In fact, I would love to see Igor Larionov as coach of the Red Wings. I'm certainly on record of seeing that any man with a nickname of the Professor who already transformed the game once in the 90s, the way the game was played in North America, I think could have a huge impact on the game again as a head coach. Would love to see it. Would love to see it even more with the Red Wings. But just in general, I think there's going to be an opportunity for him out there. That's my take on that. Nate, your take on Igor Larionov potentially coaching in the NHL someday?
I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, even watching last week when Iggy talked a lot about that, I mean, I think you need that calming presence too. And I mean, I can remember that as a player, he brought that in, and, especially with the Russian 5, they talk about, he wasn't, I know that Fetisov was as well. They were the elder statesmen of that, but he was that soothing process. And again, who else is going to get that triple overtime goal in a Stanley Cup final game other than him? And it was just, you watched him on the ice and he was smooth. You have to figure it transfers over into coaching as well. I don't know much outside of that, but to me, I mean, yeah, I think it would be a great move if you're talking about a coach in waiting or someone that maybe you get there. I know that Igor is a little older, but now that I'm in the neighborhood of what he was when he was scoring goals, I'm not criticizing. It's just more of a, hey, let's see if that transition would work out. But yeah, I'm definitely on board for a move like that.
When he was scoring triple overtime goals in front of leaping dandies, which was
dandies.
Devin, over to you. And I know we're in the same camp on this and can't wait to hear what you have to say. The Professor as an NHL coach, what say you?
Remember when you insinuated that Igor Larionov's son didn't know what Leaping Dandy was? Anyways,
Why do we gotta go there?
No.
Why do we gotta go there?
And no, and like I said last week, it kind of broke my heart to hear Iggy talk about how he doesn't think his dad would fit as an assistant coach. Because I would love to see him be the hire to replace Bylsma. But
Sure,
it doesn't sound like that is in the cards, at least for right now. Long term, so on board with the idea of him being the head coach. Come on, we've got Yzerman running the show now as the general manager. Chris Draper is the head of the scouting department. Let's get Igor Larionov behind the bench, and let's bring back Sergei Fedorov to do some sort of role with the organization.
to hang his number.
Put it up there first.
Number.
Retire 91 first and foremost.
Yes.
Second, let's bring him back into the fold. I mean, one of my favorite things about this organization is that the players that are on the team for a long term, they really kind of become family with the team. They really identify as Red Wings. And with that comes a certain pride and a desire to make the team good. And that's among the many reasons why I'm very confident with Steve Yzerman as the general manager and why I would be confident with Igor Larionov as the head coach.
I think that would be awesome. One other note, kind of to tie this whole segment together. I think Iggy made a great point last week about differing personalities and Bylsma coming in and having the success, how that appeared with him being an assistant head coach. That may have been something from the start there. And case in point, that's why his son doesn't believe Larionov will be an assistant coach anywhere in the NHL. Head coach or bust, and I am all for it. So thank you, Mark, for the question. Really appreciate it. You guys have anything to talk about for this week, make sure to post it below and we'll chat about it on our next show. Last, I don't know, mystery comment on the YouTube. Stevie Y asks us, who in your opinion is going to go number one and number two in the draft? Nate, we start with you.
I thought it was Mr. Snrub. Oh, come on. Like, really? Like, just put the glasses on, lean forward, and laugh at me a little bit.
It's happening. Okay. Who is going to go in the draft first and
1 and
second,
2.
in your opinion?
All right. Well, because I'm a fatalist. So I believe that Power's going 1 because it's Buffalo. And Buffalo is going to stick to a script. Maybe I'm being biased I'm reading the tea leaves of the last 6 months for the poor Buffalo Sabre fan base. I think they'll be safe because they don't want to screw it up. That's my thought. Number 2, that is where I think Eklund might go. Now, I will also contend on this that Seattle's a complete random thing right now because you still have the expansion draft before this. They may have 4 or 5 guys sitting number 2 right now based on who are they going to be able to get in the expansion draft? Who are they going to be able to finagle through trades? What else might happen? I mean, this is maximum chaos. I do think it's going to go. Craig Button wrote about how it'll be like 4 defensemen in a row. I don't think it's going. I think you're going to have a centerman go 1 or 2. And I'm also on Devin's bandwagon there with, I'm not necessarily sure Owen Power goes first. So,
well, sure.
Here's the thing. They always say to answer a question with a question. So, Stevie Y, what do you think is going to happen with 1 and 2? That's all I got. By the way, feel free to call me anytime, Stevie.
I think all super good points. And though the general consensus amongst the talking heads, if you will, seem to be leaning towards Power as the number 1 overall pick right now, I think a lot can change between now and draft day as well. Devin, who do you see going 1-2 in the draft, the way it stands right now?
Well, first of all, RIP to Answer Khan for definitely sweating some bullets when he got put in the spot there. Holy cow.
Thought he did great. I would have folded.
Well.
I would have folded under the pressure, hands down, and probably just ended up in the fetal position under my desk and hand my credential back over. So
it would have been Steve Buscemi and Big Daddy. Stop talking to me. That would have been it.
on the off chance you're watching, Answer, we love you. We love your stuff, and we think you did very well being put on the spot. Sorry, Devin, to interrupt.
Isn't Isn't it so fun having Steve Yzerman in town? Anyways, no, I do like the idea that Power is going number 1 only because he's kind of the safe pick. Buffalo, like Nate just said, cannot get this wrong. Good God, help them if they do. And then number 2, again, like Nate said, Seattle can go literally any direction they want with that. They could take Wallstead at 2.
Sure.
I think if I'm on the spot, because Stevie Y put me on the spot, I'm going to say Beniers go second. I'll go Power, Beniers go blue. But it could genuinely be any 2 out of the top 10. It's that close with this
completely
draft.
agree. I alluded to it before, but I also put Power at 1. I'll go ahead and take another defenseman at number 2 and go with Luke Hughes there.
And that's not even a bad call.
Sure, for sure. And when you're a team like Seattle looking to come out of the gate strong, why not potentially draft a franchise defenseman right out of the gate? Couldn't that be nice?
Which would set up a nice little sibling rivalry between the Hughes brothers up north with Quinn.
Yeah, I love it. So good stuff, good answers. I put you on the spot. You got it. But I'm not done with you guys yet. I'm gonna put you on the spot one more, and you don't know this is coming because I wanted your most natural reaction, and this is how we're gonna end the show today. All right, and I will actually go first to give you a minute to think, but I would like to know right now, to this point, what your favorite part of this year's playoffs have been. So I'm going to put you on the spot and give you a minute to think about it. Because what I would say is actually right now, my favorite part of this year's playoffs happened yesterday. Peter Mrazek coming on the ice after not playing at all in the playoffs. And frankly, Ned not playing poorly at all, just a kid kind of in a tough spot. And Mrazek comes in and gets a big win for Carolina when they desperately needed it in Game 3 against Tampa Bay. Obviously, a soft spot in my heart for Peter. But nonetheless, that's my favorite part of the playoffs to this point. There have been a lot of good. There's been some not good. But that's kind of what I enjoyed watching yesterday. I just felt happy for him. He's had a tough season. He's been a little bit banged up, and to come into the playoffs and get a win cold like that in Game 3, that if they didn't win, they're virtually done. I thought was awesome. So hopefully I've stalled enough to give you guys a minute to think about it. Since he called me little brother earlier in the show, Nate, we're going to give Devin some more time to think about it and put you on the spot. Your favorite part of the playoffs to this point.
First, before when you started this segment, I was waiting for Ian to pop out of the I'm repping you. I got my headset. Man. Well, okay. So we all know the Schadenfreude with Toronto, and you enjoy seeing Montreal. I think out of all of that, oh man, I don't know. This is a good question.
Now you know how Answer felt.
Yeah, well, like we said, the man is a god because he was able to do it on the spot. Whereas, again, I would have Buscemi'd right in the corner. You know what? This pains me. Every Red Wings fan that goes back to the 90s with us, it's been fun watching Colorado dominate.
Yeah,
and I'll say it in the sense of it has been such a nip and tuck league for the last however long. It feels like when St. Louis won, that it's been even closer. It's been kind of cool to see a team just blow teams out of the barn. And I mean, and it also gives you hope too, because 4 years ago, Colorado was on fire. I mean, Sakic is trying to put all those fires out. Patrick Waugh, kind of left in a hissy, which is, I guess, no different than when he was on the ice.
Certainly not stunning there. Anyways,
no,
it's definitely in character.
I think watching them, the speed, the skill, it's been a lot of fun. And again, to show, hey, and they did get a 1 and 2, and I know that, but to show that drafting ideology and the development piece along with it is just so crucial to having that longevity in the league, and to not panic with your coach. Just it'll be okay.
For sure.
Yep.
Well, and can I let the cat out of the bag here? There's no rivalry between Detroit and Colorado.
Oh, not anymore.
We walk around, we act like we're supposed to hate them still, and I understand the sentiment, but they have been fun to watch. They're a really good team. It's a hot take, but it's not that outlandish to say they might not lose a game in the playoffs. I mean, they're probably gonna, but they haven't yet. So they're fun to watch, and I don't think that's a bad take at all, Nate.
Well, and I think the other part too, if I may interrupt for a second, name me a Red Wings fan who hates Joe Sakic. None.
Right.
We respect him and love him just as much as Colorado fans would absolutely say, yeah, Yzerman. It just, I had to let that in. That's just a great point. And you're
exactly right. You're right. That roster did have one person who we liked. You're right. Maybe two. Maybe Forsberg as well, because I don't want to say that Forsberg is lucky.
You beat me to it.
But a little championship video trivia right there, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Devin, I've gone off to left field here, but bring us home for the show. What have you enjoyed the most about the playoffs to this point?
So as somebody who's rooting for the Vegas Golden Knights, it has not been fun to watch the Colorado Avalanche do their thing. But as a general hockey fan, yes, the Colorado Avalanche are a really fun team to watch. But no, my favorite thing from this playoffs were games 6 and 7 of the Montreal-Toronto series. Once Montreal scored the OT goal in game 6, it just seemed like everybody knew what was coming. And sure enough, Game 7 came, and Toronto is still putting out fires. Holy cow. Let me tell you.
If we were in East Lansing, it would be couches. What can we say?
Yes. Shout out to all you Maple Leaf fans out there and our friends over at Maple Leaf Lounge, because I know it's frustrating. I mean, the Wings were in that phase at one point in time too. I don't know if either of you guys saw that press conference with Brendan Shanahan, but the media over there is nuts.
Oh yeah.
I like seeing Toronto suffer just a little bit, but I really hope they get some success, because holy cow.
I can appreciate that sentiment for sure. And to any of you Toronto fans watching, like Devin said, believe it or not, before June of 1997, Yzerman, Fedorov, Lidstrom, and the like were viewed as chokers. So remember,
it takes time.
You gotta go through the proverbial crap house before you get to the penthouse. And it's been a tough run for Maple Leafs fan, but being a big Shanahan fan myself, I think they've got the right people in charge, and in the end it may be worth it. But regardless, agreed, that goal by Suzuki against Winnipeg, the patience, sick, just not even fair. That was something you do in NHL 21 World of Chell, not actually playing. So awesome stuff. Really appreciate it. You guys are good sports. I totally pulled that out of left field and put you on the spot. So once again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Nate, Devin, thanks for another great show. Make sure you check us out on Twitter, like our page, subscribe to the Hockey Writers, give us a comment. We'll give you a shout back. Until next time, thanks for joining.